Good evening. Welcome to the ShadowTrader video weekly for Sunday, September 19th, 2010. The theme of this video today is going to be mixed signals and also being aware of what I call both scenarios. Right now the market is at a serious inflection point here, sitting at the top of a range. And what I mean about both scenarios is that in the coming week, tomorrow and the next day, we're either going to gap up over this range, maybe on some news, and we're going to probably go higher. This is a weekly chart. I'm going to switch to a daily. Or we're going to possibly gap down and go lower, which would be a similar situation to here, which was the last time that we knocked on this 1130 resistant area in the S&P, right? If we recall, last time this happened, we had a very similar pattern going on, bullish, bullish, bullish at the top of the range, and then some news or something knocked it down here, and we sold off back to the low end of the range. So that's what we're faced with coming into here. We're at the top end of the range. I am more bullish than bearish. I think that testing this area multiple times is bullish, and the market had ample opportunity over the past week with all sorts of, the usual economic data to sell off, and it didn't. It held up very well. The bears were rebuffed at every turn. So I am feeling like the move should be higher from here. Going into some of the other majors, notice that the comp tech has been really strong. Obviously, we had Oracle news last week. Google broke out of a range, so that's pulling NASDAQ stocks higher. Notice that the NASDAQ composite is already over it, right? So if we click back to that weekly, it's already showing a little bit of more strength. The Dow is a little bit weaker. It's actually below the horizontal line, and the Russell is actually the weakest. It's not even there yet. One of the things that we need to think about is also in terms of which direction this is going to go. And I think it's really kind of more like a wait and see. And that's why I'm saying that you need to have multiple scenarios. So what you want to do in a situation like this is you want to have your list of plays for both sides of the market, meaning next week, what am I going to do if I'm pretty sure that the market's falling back down into range? Do I have a list of stocks that I'm going to go short of? What am I going to do? Switch this back to the broad market. If we start to move higher than here, do I have a list of things that I want to get long of? So it's very important to always have two scenarios, because you won't have time to get into your plays if you just wait and see and then try and do your research on the fly. As it's, as the market's already moving, you're going to get in very late, and that's really important. I really do think that any slight gap or move up over this resistance area is going to create serious buying, because I still feel like, even though people are pretty bullish right now, and I'll show you in a second, we're going to go over some AAII investor sentiment in a moment. Although people are generally bullish, I don't think they're bullish enough. I think there's still bearish sentiment out there. People are really not believing, and it should push the market higher. I think there's a lot of short covering to be done. And notice that if we move up out of this range, all the choppy slop from here is going to be behind us, and what's going to be left in front of us is the open space. And I talk about this in many videos, how, remember, the open space never resists. This is essentially, you can think of this as like giant gaps. This is nothing. This is flash crash, then inside day, then we gapped up, and we sold off hard in three bars here. So you can think of this as a void. So what's that going to do? Take prices right up to 1150 on the S&P, right? Which would be 115 on the SPY, you can see there, if we move up over that area. Let's check tools here. I want to show you guys something. This is where all of the ShadowTrader advisories are. And most importantly, SwingTrader had some really cool commentary on Friday, and I wanted to point that out. We're talking about investor sentiment. I wanted to show this. Now, this kind of paints a bearish picture, but remember, it's not always right. But I wanted to throw this in there. One, just also to add, to advertise the type of stuff that goes into this looking ahead column, which I think is really great stuff. There's really some excellent information here. This is one of the first. This is actually the first time that we've put this investor sentiment chart in here. And notice that basically the way this works is that it works on the premise that the average investor is generally wrong. They're usually late to the party. So when you have peaks here, for instance, in the percentage of people who are bullish, when it's over 50%, the market tends to sell off. And when you have troughs, you notice that soon after the market tends to rise. Now, if you match up all these numbers, you can see it's not always correct. Where, look here, we had very, very bullish sentiment, overly bullish sentiment, and then the market didn't pull back, and it actually started a really strong advance and went much higher. So this So even though these peaks and troughs tie in very often, they don't always, and we could either have it where it follows through, where it confirms, meaning that we're overly bullish here, so the market will probably come down because too many people are bullish. So the thinking being that basically there's nobody left to buy, right? Because they're all just too bullish, and then the market sells off. Or we have a situation like we had back here, where even though we have a large percentage of bullish investors, the market only pulls back a little and then moves up higher. So this is something you may want to check out. It's right here inside of the Swing Trader report from Friday. This was in the issue of the 17th, and as always, you can always check that out here just right under the People tab. Once you log in and then click on Swing Trader, you want to hit follow, so you follow us and click right there, okay? So to recap, let me just take a quick look also at some sectors. I did want to show you why I think I'm kind of more in the bullish camp. I'm still seeing financial stuff lagging, but there's a lot of sectors that really look good. Most importantly, transports. If we, oops, hold on, let me get back to that. Let me go back here. There we go. We might need a DJT for this. Nope. There we go, Dow Jones Transport Average. Okay, similar to the market in terms of holding up at the top end of the range, right, with a little bit of a bullish hammer. And also wanted to show you software was really strong. Software index is already broken out. Obviously, we had the news from Oracle, etc. So it looks like there's a lot of open space here where we could go a little bit higher. A little bit disappointing on XBD. The brokers are kind of middling. Essentially on Friday, you had kind of a mixed day. I mean, the market really went nowhere. It was just options expiry, so we kind of went to the side. DRG, which is pharmaceutical. Oh, that chart's still screwed up. Let me see if I can't get a correct this bar on it, and I'll remove it. Okay, notice how the drug stock's really strong, but possibly toppy. That's something I'm going to be looking at on Monday. Just the fact that this has been up way too many days in a row, possible topping tail. So here's an excellent example of possibly, let's say that the scenario plays out to the downside and we don't get the upward move. So as I was saying before, you want to be looking for both scenarios. Let's say we gap down here under the 200 on some news, and market takes that as very bearish. All these people that are stuck in the consolidation here are wrong. We go down. What is your idea going to be for the down move? Well, there's a possible one. This is really quite overbought. Needs to correct a bit, maybe even to the 200, maybe some sort of Fibonacci, possibly even back to the trend line, which would be a huge move. But just something to look at. All right, Google I've been watching. I have a bullish play on. I think I have a bullish play running on it currently with some weekly options, which I've been talking about. I think the stock goes a little bit higher. I want you guys to watch for Google to retest the 500 area. That in and of itself makes me think kind of bullish because I like the action in these leading stocks, such as Apple sitting right up at the highs, Amazon sitting up at the highs to test, doesn't, you know. These are not stocks that I would be short of. Microsoft is also interesting along with the rest of the software stocks. Correct? Strong on this kind of bullish flag. So to me, there's just a lot of bullish patterns out there, even though we're sitting at the right at the resistance. And again, to recap, my main concern here for the bearish argument, meaning that I'm concerned that the bearish argument won't really work, is just the fact that we've tested multiple times now, and what's above us is this void here, is this empty space, which could easily take the S&P to 1150. All right, so let's see how she goes. That's all I have for today. Good trading to everybody for next week. On behalf of myself and the entire ShadowTrader team here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I wish you good trading and good night.